Oh, this one is. It's still like this is just the beginning. As we go further, the last chapter would be like the icing on the cake.
I think by the time we reach the last chapter, we'll be bowling, we'll be crying out loud.
We are like practically in the middle of Srimad Bhagavatam now. So, yeah, so we start. We are starting with text number 5 today, right?
3, bro.
3, okay. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedant Swami Nitnamne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishtarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Mahatam Khalu Viprarshe.
Mahatam Khalu Viprarshe.
Uttama Shloka Padayo.
Uttama Shloka Padayo.
Chaya Nivrita Chittanam.
Chaya Nivrita Chittanam.
Na Kutumbe Sprahamati.
Na Kutumbe
Yes. Would like to read?
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai.
Jai.
Translation. Elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are fully satiated by the shade of those lotus feet. Their consciousness cannot possibly become attached to family members. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Shushitala Ye Chhayaya Jagat Juthaya. He described the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda as being so nice and cooling that all materialistics who are always in the blazing fire of material activities may come under the shade of his lotus feet and be fully relieved and satiated. The distinction between family life and the spiritual life can be experienced by any person who has undergone the turbulation of living with the family. One who comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord never becomes attracted by the activities of the family life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartate, one gives up lower engagement when he experiences a higher taste. Thus, one becomes detached from family life as soon as he comes under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So the principle of higher taste, Param Drishtva Nivartate. See, the living entity, what is the nature of living entity? Anandamayo Bhyasat. Nature is to be Anandamay, blissful. See, by all our endeavors, we try to remove all sorts of anxieties from our life. If you see carefully, all this so-called science and technology, it is just here to reduce anxiety. Like at one time I was working in Tata Motors and we were having this discussion on automatic gearboxes. So the discussion was, changing manual gears is very stressful. Like I was researching this topic and we found out, like, market research indicated some people find automatic gearboxes very stressful, especially ladies. So therefore there should be automated transmissions. People, you just sit in your car, you press the pedal and the car goes. You don't need to do any jugglery with your feet and your arms. So, and there's a lot of complexity in it, a lot of complexity. The car becomes much more expensive, much more heavy. It consumes more fuel, but anxiety is reduced. That's why we came to automobiles from horse carts, from bullock carts, because all our endeavors are to reduce anxiety. Anandamay, Anandamayo Bhyasat, not Sukhamayo Bhyasat, Anandamay. Sukha will have some anxiety still, but Ananda has no anxiety. So that's the endeavor of all living entities, to become Anandamai. But in this material world, that is not possible. Like, so what is the Anand? What is the happiness, Sukha in this material world? People get married, Grihastha ashram. It's considered the greatest of happiness. That's why you see 90% of all the communication in this world that you see, all these movies, media, television, everything is just talking about love, love, love. Love between male and female. What is that really? Just attraction, bodily attraction. I mean, no one sees the soul. Practically 99% of the world doesn't even believe in soul. So no one believes in soul. So they are just attracted by body because that gives them some pleasurable sensation. Like Prabhupada says, skin disease. So it gives some happiness and people want to get married. I mean, the Indian media is practically all about just getting married only. Marriage is such a big thing in India all the time. And here in the West also. Marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend. Why? So because that gives us some sensation of happiness, stability. But what actually happens? As Srila Prabhupada explains in one Bengali purport, he says, I got married to get some happiness, but now there is fire everywhere. Now there is a forest fire. That is what happens. No married life is like blissful life. It is like an adjusted life, but not a blissful life. Because in this material world, there cannot be any happiness. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So even if a married couple is very happy, peacefully settled, eventually there would be death. And death would come and take away everything. So in such a condition, who can be happy? On the other hand, if one takes shelter of Krishna, so Krishna is saying, so Hridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. So Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. So by knowing him, one becomes peaceful. So if somehow or the other, someone is able to take shelter of Krishna, make some endeavor in this direction, he will be able to see the ultimate objective. Param Drishtva. Param means the highest. Drishtva, to be able to see. So Param Drishtva Nivartate is able to see the highest goal of life. And then he is able to give up lower tastes. Why do people study medicine, engineering, and such hard subjects? So that they can have a peaceful life later on. Like if you see a student, if on an average, if you want to graduate in any of the scientific fields, it is minimum 6 to 7 years of effort through, upper higher secondary and graduation and then post-graduation. So 5, 6, 7, 8 years of endeavor, just so that we can have some peaceful life. And those 5, 6 years are not peaceful years. They are extremely difficult years. One has to struggle a lot. There's a lot of anxiety. But we reconcile to this anxiety, thinking that we would attain some peace going ahead in the future. But usually we don't get it. So likewise, if one makes some endeavor on the path of Krishna consciousness, some anxiety, some stress, one will be able to attain real peace in life. And that is the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So as soon as one, Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati, as soon as one starts understanding Krishna, then all these lower tastes start vanishing. As Srila Prabhupada explains that, if a hungry man, if you give him a dry chapati, he will eat it. But if you give him a rasagulla, he will gladly take that. He would be able to give up this dry chapati. So just like that, if one is able to attain the lotus feet of Krishna, then Krishna is able to deliver him. Gyatva Mam Shantip. So he becomes peaceful. Then he's able to give up these lower tastes of material enjoyment. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Sometimes it feels it's like either way it's like a cart before the horse or horse before the cart. The one give up the lower enjoyment when somebody has a higher taste, but higher taste doesn't come until you give up some lower engagements. So it's either or. It's like a circle.
That's a very good point. That's a good point you raised. Actually, I was meaning to talk about it today. I mean, just in the morning, this thought crossed my mind. We have talked about Graham Andhakupam. Next verse is going to be about the same topic, really. See, how does one, what is this higher engagement? How does one take to it? How does one give up lower engagements? Now, if I tell you, hey, this Grahastha life is so difficult, it's a blind well, you can't just walk out of your house tomorrow.
Mhm.
And it won't work also. If you walk out of your house tomorrow, the day after you will come back also.
Mhm.
You can't do it. So how does one then give up these lower tastes? What is the method? What is the practical method of doing it? So, see, from the experience of all the great devotees I have seen and known, and limited experience that I also have, I can tell you confidently that you don't try to give up anything. You just start taking more devotional service. Take more commitment on the path of Krishna consciousness. Take more commitment for Krishna. So if you have 2 hours, 3 hours every day, you are engaged in different types of services, then you have to engage that time in Krishna's service. You can't say no there, right? Just like your job. You can't say no to your job 7.5, 8 hours a day. You have to do it. So likewise, you take some engagements in Krishna's service, a commitment, Then as you go on executing that commitment, you'll start getting purified. So as you start getting purified, your taste for that service will increase. You will still have taste for your daily activities, but gradually you'll see that your taste for mundane activities starts diminishing. It reduces. Incrementally, it will start reducing. You'll see, slow reduction in your attachment to your day-to-day activities. And as your taste for Krishna consciousness increases, you will take more commitments on the path. And one day you'll realize that you are actually practically engaging yourself fully in Krishna consciousness. Your material life would have dissolved somewhere and you won't even notice it. That is the problem is that devotees don't have taste for Krishna consciousness. Devotees don't want to engage in Krishna consciousness. It's a kind of a formality. It's like a burden to carry. So they do it, but they don't want to take any commitments for Krishna. A commitment to wife, to child, to husband, to every Yahoo in this world is more important than commitment to Krishna. That is the problem. Srila Prabhupada says, if one wants to remain pure, he can remain pure in any circumstance. Srila Prabhupada went to America, most degraded place. When Srila Prabhupada went to preach to the Morning Star Ranch, there were just naked people there, naked hippies, boys and girls, completely naked. And Prabhupada was preaching. He did Kirtan. And he preached and he came back. And who came from that Morning Star Ranch? Tamal Krishna Goswami and Vishnu Jan Swami. So you see, Srila Prabhupada could pull out devotees from even hell. So Srila Prabhupada remained pure, but there were so many Swamis who went there and they became degraded. Srila Prabhupada's own godbrother, Bon Maharaj, he developed Western habits after visiting England. And England is a very sober place. Trust me, even in those days of madness of the 60s, England was a very sober place as compared to the United States. They all went to London. He went to London. There was a small Gaudiya Math there. So you can imagine. And he acquired those habits. He started wearing a Western style suit. He started eating with spoons and forks. So you see, if one wants to remain pure, he can remain pure anywhere. If one wants to serve Krishna, he or she can serve Krishna. There is no limitation.
So I do have 2 questions, Prabhuji, in this. You said mundane activities. The taste for mundane activities would go. How would you define such mundane activities? Example, kya le?
So I'll give you the worst example. Just chatting with husband and wife. How was your day? How is my day? This is like that is like that. My sister did this, your husband did that, I mean, your uncle did that, and that kind of nonsense family talks. What purpose that serves really? You can have a normal conversation, but people spend exclusive time. Prabhu, I have to give time to my wife. What time does your wife need? I mean, is she some kind of car that you have to overhaul her? Or is your husband some kind of a machine? You need to change some gears and parts or need to oil him. then why do people need more time? You're living together, for heaven's sake. What time do you need for husband and wife? That you can't take time for Krishna. That's why you see, we say Graham Andakupam, because we feel so comfortable. We look into the eyes of the wife, oh, my wife. But we don't think, oh, there is Krishna also, who has given this wife. See, I know so many ladies who have children and who keep talking, Prabhuji, my child is doing this, my child is doing that, my child is... Well, your child is a living entity. He will do many things. You do your duty. You give him nourishment, you give him education. But you don't have to be too concerned about him. That's the problem.
This is the question I have, Prabhuji. Would this concern ever go in the sense, it's if something happens to a child, obviously mother is restless.
Yeah, that is fine. But every day, everything is not happening to the child. Every day the child is not getting hurt. Every day child is not falling sick. Why bother so much? See, the point is, while you are worrying about child, Maya Devi is worrying about you. See, what is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying? Suta atapa vata varishana itehi ate parakitire. So, why? What's the use? And especially if the spouse and the children, they are not devotees, then they are just networks of hell. They are just binding you into Maya more and more. If they are non-devotees, just do your bare minimum duty and move away. You don't have enough time. You have very little time. See, Bifale sevinu kripana durjana chapala sukhilab lagire. What is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying? Sita atapa bata varishana edina jamini jagire. Bifale sevinu kripana durjana chapala sukhilab lagire. Chapala sukha, momentary happiness. Oh, my wife talked to me smilingly. Why? Because I did not chant Hare Krishna. See, my wife was happy. Well, your wife is happy. Maya Devi is also very happy because you are not chanting Krishna. See, now we are in the, we can say the harshest part of Srimad Bhagavatam, where everything will be spoken as it is. If the spouse, the children, if they are not devotees, mother, father, if they are not devotees, they are just wasting our time. Even serving them is not going to serve any purpose.
But then we can't run away either.
Yeah, so you do your minimum. That's why I said, devotional service. So you engage more in devotional service. That devotional service will slowly, Krishna will show you the path. Krishna will show you the path through all of this. We have to do so many duties. So this will also become like one of those duties.
And when you said commitments, can you give some examples of commitments too? What are practical commitments that we can do?
Okay. You can commit yourself to, for example, you can say that I'll, summarize Bhagavad Gita. I'll make a summary of Bhagavad Gita, or I'll try to explain yoga from Bhagavad Gita, or I'll try to explain the process of karma from Bhagavad Gita, or I'll try to understand what is supreme. So you can try taking some assignment from Gita, or you can, just about start explaining Bhagavad Gita. Like, for example, if you're talking to Indians or anyone, you can say, hey, I can explain Gita in summary. So every Hindu would want to hear it. Okay, hey, I wanted to hear about Bhagavad Gita. Can you just tell me? So you can take that as an assignment and start doing it. Or, you could start studying the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Try to know more about Lord Chaitanya. Who is Lord Chaitanya? Try mentoring someone in bhakti. Take up some devotee who's struggling and try mentoring him or her in bhakti. All these are assignments you can do for Krishna. And they will engage your intellect.
Means self-reading or Swadhyaya does count as a commitment.
Swadhyaya and more or less, or more importantly, doing something proactively.
Matlab, for example?
Like I said, you start summarizing, say, the second chapter of Gita. So Srila Prabhupada has mentioned about 3 broad themes of the 2nd chapter in the last purport. So you try to find out those themes from different verses. Where is karma there? Where is gyan there? And where are glimpses of bhakti? What is Krishna? What is Krishna explaining about the soul? So you can start making your own thematic summaries. Bhagavad Gita means active study. Bhagavad literatures are not like some comic books. We just read them and forget. We should study and start note taking. We should take notes. We should start creating them. We should start creating our compilations. Suppose somebody just calls you up and says, "Hey, Mataji, can you please explain what is spoken in 2nd chapter? I find it confusing." So you should be able to do it on the spot. Like a soldier in the army, they are trained that any moment alarms can ring and they are ready for action. So a devotee is also like a soldier. Any moment he is ready to preach. Just like you are asking me questions so many times in between. Like you just message me and say, "Hey, what is this?" So if someone writes a message to you like that, are you in a position to answer?
No.
So you should be. So when you start doing that, that is proactive bhakti. That is proactive devotion.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. That's torchlight. Thank you so much.
Hari Hari.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Anandram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
As Mataji asked the question about commitment, and you very nicely explained about proactive commitment. But the example seems to only about reading, studying, and preaching. Preaching by words. Okay, so, but then there are other commitments also one can take, isn't it? That is, it could be about serving the Archavikara of the Lord, or it could be about serving Vaishnavas in different ways. So how about all those things? Even those commitments are also the ornaments of a Vaishnava. So even those needs to be accommodated. It should not be only one aspect that should be cultivated to an extreme extent.
See, that was just one example I was taking. But one word of warning that I would like to say here is, this aspect of physical service has become such a kind of obsession within our ISKCON that we have practically become a Shudra movement. Singing, eating, cooking, and deity service. I mean, what deity are we serving? Real deity is in the Bhagavatam. To understand who is Krishna, we just want to buy some brass toys, decorate them, and then say we are doing deity service. If someone really loves deity service, then he should be studying Bhagavatam day and night, trying to understand about Krishna, what pleases Krishna, how to know Krishna. Otherwise, it's just a child's play. It's just a child's play. Rupa and Sanatan Goswami were not hanging around in temples. Sanatan Goswami constructed the Radha Madan Mohan temple, but he wasn't living there. He was translating books. He was living under trees. See, deity service, Prabhupada said, deity service is for neophytes. He said, it's better you lock up the temples and go out and preach on the streets. Do Sankirtan. This deity worship is nice. I mean, that is actually the culmination of all devotional service. But it should not be taken as an excuse to escape from studying scriptures. People just take it as an excuse. Deities become like some toys. I mean, for a neophyte, there is no distinction between a Barbie doll and Radharani. So deity worship should be done when one's consciousness is completely purified. People don't know Bhagavad Gita, they don't know Bhagavatam, and they are worshipping deities. Then what are they worshipping really? Brahmana, Brahma Janatiti Brahmana, one who knows Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, one who knows that is Brahmana. And here we have devotees having extramarital affairs and doing deity service. I mean, this is a joke. Cooking for deities? What is cooking? We're just cooking what we want to eat. Delicious items, and they are cooked like in profuse quantities. No, we are not serving Jagannath temple. We are a preaching movement. Then devotees eat too much and then they sleep too much. Our movement is slowly turning a fat movement. So many fat devotees. That's not good. Prabhupada always said, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, we should eat only enough to keep our body and soul together. A devotee is practically starving. And that's the secret for strength in preaching. According to Ayurveda, strength does not come from eating. Strength comes from tapasya. The great Kshatriyas, they were not going to some gymnasiums and eating kilos of meat. No, the great Kshatriyas were executing brahmacharya, tapasya, and that's how they attained great Shakti. So, yes, prasadam, cooking, serving the deities, serving devotees is nice, but that's a subordinate activity. Primary activity is study of scriptures. Otherwise, we don't even know who's a Vaishnava. And that's why we see today, we have devotees who are learning yoga from Mayavadis. We have devotees who are even running schools with Mayavadi teachers to teach about Panchakosh and other things. That is highest offense to the acharyas. But the devotees are happily going along because they don't read any scriptures. They don't study anything. So they think this is seva. But what is seva? Actually, Prabhupada said, if he doesn't know Bhagavatam, he will only do nonsense. And that's why we see so much of nonsense going on in our society also. Because people don't study the scriptures. Actually, Brahmana means well versed in scriptures. Without knowing the scriptures, whatever you do will be nonsense. Even Krishna will not accept that service. Because we won't even know how to serve Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, simply because we are offering doesn't mean Krishna is accepting. So yes, service to devotees, service to deities is all very important, but not secondary to the studies. First scriptures, then all other services. Yes, Prabhu.
So as you have just pointed out the fact, nowadays in our movement, the criteria for getting Brahman Diksha is you should be really inclined and taking up service of deities, serving deities, or serving deities directly by dressing, making garlands, or by kitchen seva. Then only they will recommend the name on a consistent basis. Then only your name for Brahman initiation will be recommended. That means devotees who are just reading or preaching, they will rarely anyway get a chance of these things.
No, it's not even important. It's not even important. Once Prabhupada was doing some service, he was in a temple and something broke down, some sound system or something broke down, and there was a devotee sitting there. So Prabhupada said, just give me your Brahmana thread. I just want to repair this system. Take your Brahmanical thread and repair this system. Meaning that Prabhupada did not take these things very seriously. Haridas Thakur, who was initiating Haridas Thakur? Who gave Brahmana Diksha to Haridas Thakur? Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, which deities were they serving? You see, please, we have to understand facts from popular myths or popular mythology. Just because something has become a trend doesn't mean that it is transcendental. Everyone wants to serve deities, but then everyone is fighting like cats and dogs. Bitching against each other, fighting unnecessarily. What's the use of all that? Brahmana thread is not important. Being a Brahmana is more important. Kshantar, Arjavya, Arja, all those things. One should be peaceful, one should be tolerant, forgiving, knowledgeable, pure, clean. Where is all that? Simply, 25 paisa Brahmanas, 1 rupee Brahmanas. You get these 1 rupee threads in Vashi. So that is of no value. This fake Brahmanas have no value. They may serve deities, but are the deities accepting that service? Deities are not accepting what we are moving with our hands and muttering with our mouths. Deities are accepting what is coming from our heart. If in my heart I am lusting after ladies, if I am lusting after power, if I am looking to show other devotees down, then deities are not accepting that. Deities are accepting my consciousness. I may cook 57 items for deities every day, but if my heart is not pure, deity will not touch anything. Krishna is not hungry for our arti, for our bhoga. Krishna is hungry for our love, for our purity. Where is that? If that is missing, then all these are just external formalities. They are worth nothing. Zero, zilch. Purity of the heart. If your Brahmanical initiation, if your deity worship is making your heart pure, it's worth it. If your heart is not purified, then nonsense. Then everything is nonsense. You may say, oh, I am a disciple of so-and-so guru. He's the best guru in ISKCON. I have this, I have that. That is all just nonsense. Krishna is not accepting that at all. Purity of the heart. Bhoga, why are we cooking for deities? Yes, it's nice food. Vaishnavas will like it. I'll cook it for the deities. But if I'm a glutton, if I'm just doing it to fill my tummy, then Krishna will not accept it. Service to Vaishnavas is important with the objective of Sankirtan. I will serve this Vaishnava because I like him. I will not serve that Vaishnava because I don't like him. Even though he's sincere, he's serving the mission. No, I won't. That is not service. That is whimsical likings. We have room for our personal taste and bhakti. But bhakti is our objective. That's our mission. If that mission is not being served, then we are just wasting our time.
Truly said, Prabhuji. Any commitment we take, any spiritual commitment we are taking, the heart of all the spiritual commitment is that we are doing unalloyed devotional service without any expectation of material gain. So that being the pure motive. So then, even if we do reading or we do preaching or we do serving the deities, then everything will uplift our consciousness. Yes. Elsewise, any devotional activity we do, whether it be anyone, the things which we're discussing, everything will be futile and it will only fuel up our ego. Absolutely. Actually, that is like slowly we'll start even finding the devotees as competitors to ourselves, and we'll do all the things that when we try to secure ourselves in material world, the same thing we start doing in devotee community also. See, we don't know when we are under devotional service, when we are under Maya. It's very difficult because we are completely under illusion. So when there is pride, there is envy, there is ignorance, then we should understand that we are under Maya. Then it's not devotional service, and we are serving Maya. So if our study of scriptures is increasing our pride, then that knowledge is not coming from Saraswati Devi, that is coming from Durga Devi. That knowledge will be the cause of our downfall. We'll become proud, arrogant, and eventually kicked out of bhakti. And we can feel in our hearts, when we feel dry, when we are just doing things for show off, we know we are dry within our hearts. Then we know we are not doing. See, no one can give us a certificate that you are a pure devotee. We know within our hearts how pure we are. Every single one of us knows. So we have to keep the levels of our purity higher. We have to be more and more pure. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes. Because now we are dealing with a very strict topic. Maharaj Priyavrat and subsequent topics. Lord Rishabdev. That will be amazing. After Priyavrat, immediately the next topic would be Maharaj Agnidhar and then Rishabdev. So it's going to be fun. So text 4. Samshayoyam Mahan Brahman.
Samshayoyam Mahan Brahman.
Daragar Sutadishu.
Daragar Sutadishu.
Saktasya Yat Siddhir Abhut.
Saktasya Yat Siddhir Abhut.
Krishne Cha Matir Achyuta.
Krishne Cha Matir Achyuta.
Yes.
May I do?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Translation. The king continued, O great Brahman, this is my great doubt. How was it possible for a person like King Parivarta, who was so attached to wife, children, and home, to achieve the topmost infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? Purport. King Prakshit wondered how a person so attached to wife, children, and home would become so perfectly Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj has said, Maitrena Krishna Partaho Savtavai Mitaho Abhipatiti Grahavartan Duntanam. A Gravarta, one who has taken a vow to execute family duties, has no chance to become Krishna consciousness. This is because most Gravartas are guided by sense gratification and therefore gradually glide down to the darkest region of material existence. Adantaha Gobir, Visitam Tamasim. How can they possibly become perfect in Krishna consciousness? Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukdev Swami to resolve this great doubt. Hare Krishna, Bhagavan.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Oh. King Parikshit wondered how a person so attached to wife, children, and home could become so perfectly Krishna conscious. So this verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. Matirna Krishne parataha swatova mitho bhipadyet grahavritanam padant gobhir vishatam tamisram punah punashcharvita charvinanam. So what does that mean? Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. And we see it practically. See, please try to understand. Please don't take it as an offense. Please don't. This sounds very harsh. But in reality, Krishna is never achieved by sitting in the comforts of one's own home. Great sages of the past, they have given up everything. Home, life, everything they gave up for the sake of attaining Krishna. We see the story of Dhruv Maharaj. We see the story of Narada Muni. We see great sages who have left all their home, hearth, everything to attain Krishna, and yet they have not found him. Then why do we think that sitting in our Kali Yuga houses, enjoying material comforts, we'll be able to attain Krishna so easily? It's not so easy. So you see, and this is our practical experience, Matirna Krishne paratah swatova mitho bhipadyet grahavratanam. So paratah swatova, from the instruction of others or by their own effort. Paratah swatova. So by the others or by their own. So for many times, we make adjustments for grahasthas. Okay, Prabhuji, okay, Mataji, I can adjust this time for you. But Prabhu, that so and such time I have to play with my child. Such and such time I need to spend with my husband. You see, Adanta Gobhir. Adanta, uncontrolled by the senses. Adanta Gobhir. Krishna is not a priority. In case of a married person, Krishna is never a priority. Priority is husband, wife. Priority is, to put it very crudely, priority is always sex life, not Krishna. Atmendriya priti vancha tare kahe kaam. It is kaam, it is lust only, it is nothing else. It may go by a very sophisticated name of marriage or, this sacred, what they call that, sacred bondage or whatever, but it is all nonsense. It's all Maya. Adanta Gobhir, uncontrolled senses. Vishatam Tamisram, entering into hellish life. It is hellish. Grahastha ashram is hellish because there is death there. For a sadhu, there is no death. A sadhu is constantly in Krishna consciousness. He is just traveling. When time comes to leave this body, he just leaves it. But for a grahastha, death is the end of all pleasures. No more sex once the body is gone. So grahastha is miserable. Sex is physical, sex is subtle. So you see, so it is punah punashcharvita charvinanam. There is no taste left anymore, but one is still struggling on. That's why we see, ladies and men, they are just flirting with other men, other women. Why? Because there is no taste left in one's own husband or one's own wife, but they are struggling, just somehow trying to find some taste. Without seeing that Rasaraj Krishna is very much in their own homes. They ignore that. But that is not, we are not here to blame anyone. What we are saying is that this attraction of home life is so strong that even after hearing so many instructions, one is not able to get out of it. Parataha swatova. Paratah, others also. The guru will come and instruct, but the grahastha is not willing to listen. No, thank you. I'm happy. So you see, so this is a very, very dangerous condition. That's why it's saying Vishatam Tamisram. Tamisra, tamasa. The root word is tamas, darkness. It is darkness, happiness in home life, happiness in home comforts. Because eventually it's all miserable. Why is it considered hellish? Because when it ends, it will crush your heart. In these hellish planets, Tamisra, Andhra Tamisra, we're going to see in the last chapter of this canto. Tamisra, one is tortured in the darkness. So Grihasthashram, there is also a lot of torture. Raising a child is no pain. Any Mataji who has a child, you can ask. Giving birth to a child is no pleasure at all. And then raising the child, 15, 16 years, it's practically hellish. But by the illusion of Maya, one thinks that it is so pleasurable. And then the children grow up, they leave. And then the parents are miserable. Oh, now the child has gone. What will happen? What will happen to the child? What will happen to me? And then the child leaves. He says, oh, parents are too obsolete. I have my own husband, my own wife. And then the parents are even more miserable. And then they see suddenly that they have grown too old. And then the conditioning becomes so strong that they are not able to surrender to Krishna. So because there is no Krishna, then there is hell only. So you see, that's why it is called Graham Andhakupam, blind. Because one thing after other keeps coming and occupies your time. Then you have no time left for Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments? Okay, then the next verse is a very big one, so I think we should take it tomorrow. If someone has any questions, you please ask. It's a very heavy topic, so I'm sure. Please don't feel ashamed or fearful. Please ask freely. Because if you are curious about this topic, understand one thing, that even the renunciation within the heart comes from Krishna. Detachment from material nature is also an opulence of Krishna, opulence of renunciation. So if renunciation is going to come to your heart, that is also going to be a gift of Krishna. So, and in fact, this chapter is dedicated to that only. Maharaj Priyavrat is a very much an embodiment of an ordinary Grihastha who is able to free himself. So if one wants mercy of the Lord, one should study this particular section of Bhagavatam very carefully and try to understand how you yourself can become free from misery. Don't hang on to your miseries. Don't become afraid of Bhagavatam and hang on to your miseries. Grihastha ashram will become a source of great pain, extreme pain. You can ask any widowed Mataji or widower Prabhuji in our movement, and you can ask them how miserable they are feeling right now in the absence of their spouse. That should not happen to you. It will start with parents and eventually migrate to spouses. So please, try to escape this. Uttishta Jagrat Prapya Varan Nibodhata. Try to understand. This path is very difficult. Shurasya Dharaya Nishta Duratyaya. This is a difficult path. It's not easy. I mean, I know all of us have lived under some illusion that Hare Krishna means, chant and be happy. Yes, chant. But being happy will come later. There are many things, Many a slip between the cup and the lip. So a lot of work to do between that chanting and being happy. A lot of hard work, a lot of effort will be required. See, it's not an indictment. We are not blaming anyone. We are not complaining. But what we are saying is, please accept this message. Or as you know, I used to study one Tantric many, many years ago. He would say, try to live in the reality before the reality comes and lives with you. If you try to escape reality, reality will come and live with you. You know it. Within your heart, you know. So please don't try to hide away. Actually, if you are brave enough to come out and pray to Krishna that, my Lord, I am weak. I cannot do anything that is written in Bhagavatam. Please help me. Krishna will take mercy. Krishna will have mercy on you. He will take pity and he will help you. I can assure you, Krishna will help you if you beg helplessly. But, get off your high horse. I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am so and so, I have raised a whole family. I am so important, I am so rich, I am so beautiful. Throw that out of window. Just toss that into a garbage can. Pray helplessly to Krishna. Krishna, I am yours. I am helpless. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Maam Vishame Bhavam Batao. Kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. Please pray like that. Please pray like that. Otherwise, you will be lost. See, I'll give you an example. Two very enthusiastic devotees in our group have now left. They don't come anymore. Maya has taken them away. You know, job, promotions, and so many things. Maya throws so many allurements in our path. Please understand, we are living inside of Maya's domain. Everything here is distracting us. Krishna is visible only as a thin ray of light. We have to catch on to it and get out. If out of pride, envy, ignorance, we ignore Krishna, we are finished. Okay, so no questions. So we stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna ji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all the devotees. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam,
Jai.
Prabhuji. Thank you.